Hello, Southern California, and welcome to this week's edition of Right on the Money with Tom Mosley. I'm your host, Kristin Oakley, and joining me in the studio is Tom. He is the founder and president of Mosley Wealth Management. We've got a great show for you today. The title of today's show is Inflation Proofing Your Retirement, Strategies to Help Keep Your Money Working Hard for You. And we're so glad that you're joining us. Tom, my friend, always a joy to be with you. How are you today?
I'm doing well. And some people might say, why are we talking about inflation? Don't we have that under control now? Isn't it down? But what people don't realize is it's still with us. Yes. Everything that we had for all of those years in the past 3 or 4 years, it's still with us. We're just stacking it on. I think you have a nice way of saying it.
Right. This is a helpful analogy, I feel. If you gained 50 pounds last year, and then this year you only gained 5, you don't celebrate the fact that, oh, I've only gained 5, because guess what? It doesn't negate the 50 pounds you gained the year before, right? And that's the problem with inflation, is once it's there, it's there.
But there's some years I'm glad I only gained 5, you know what I mean? So that's the way it goes. But no, inflation is with us. It's still with us. It still impacts us, so especially retirees who are facing many things that aren't indexed for inflation. By that, I mean, it doesn't go up when the inflation goes up. You don't get a cost of living adjustment with it. And so some of those things are really crucial, that we do understand that inflation is something that once it's here, it's something we have to build into our DNA from that point forward and have to deal with it.
And you have to plan for it. And this is something I am so happy that you make a cornerstone of your retirement blueprint that you build for folks. There's a lot of financial advisors out there that don't have this inflation conversation with their clients, but guess what? Success in retirement is so much more than just your investments. It's all about your income in retirement, and as a result, we have to plan for the fact that things are getting more expensive. And for retirees, it's that double whammy, because not only are things getting more expensive, but now you're typically on that fixed income, and that's why inflation definitely can hurt retirees more than an average working individual.
Well, to your point, the CFP board, which is, you know, they certify certified financial planners. That's what they do, and they do a lot of advertisement and promotion of their company and their group that are together. But for years, they've had 5 involvements with a financial plan: income, investments, taxes, healthcare, and legacy. And I grew up and lived during the Jimmy Carter days, and I was so happy to go to church at the little church I was a youth pastor at in Odessa, Texas, way back in the late 70s. And the very first time I ever bought a house, I was so ecstatic that I got a 15.3% mortgage, and I was thrilled over it, because I remember the impact of inflation for about 3 or 4 years. We called it the Jimmy Carter days because he was the president at that time. And then Reagan came in later, did some things that helped drive it down. But the point of it is, I understand inflation. So from the very beginning, 30 years ago, next year, June the 8th of 1995, when I've been building financial plans for retirees, you've got to consider inflation. And there was one of the big box firms did a study, and they said that if you need $6,000 a month when you first start your retirement, and you have just 3% inflation, which has been pretty normal through the years, then by 20 years later, instead of $72,000, you need $131,000 to buy the same stuff that you're buying. And some people say, well, I won't be spending as much when I'm 85 as when I'm 65. Well, tell that to your doctor and to your healthcare, to your healthcare people, and all of those people. So inflation is with us, and it has to be considered. If you're doing investments, no problem.
Right.
But if you're doing a retirement plan, so you're making sure that people have enough money when they're 65 to go to Europe and to go to enjoy the things that they need to enjoy, and they have that contentment to know that I don't have to worry about running out of money when I'm 85 because my income plan is there and inflation is considered in that plan that we have written down. If you have that kind of plan, that's what we build for people. We call it a retirement blueprint, and that's that's what we offer to people who dial in the number you see on the show. We can help you build a retirement blueprint that considers inflation. Now, a lot of people right now are saying, you know, they're saying it's under control, but was that an election message? Was that something that we were throwing out because there was an election? And is inflation really under control? Well, that's a question that you have to answer yourself if in the things that you're buying and what you're buying, because your inflation index at your house is different than mine.
I was going to say, there's such a thing as a personal inflation rate that a lot of folks aren't even aware of, meaning what things are you spending money on? And some of the things could be more expensive. For example, we know that travel has gone up a lot. What's one of the things that a lot of retirees want to do right when they retire? Go and travel, right? And to your point, having that plan in place gives you the confidence that, yes, I can go ahead and spend this money while I have the physical health, while I'm able to do these things, and still be confident that I'm not going to run out of money. That's a game changer for folks to be able to see that in writing.
It is. It's so crucial because, you know, you could be spending 3 months a year in Europe and be miserable because you think you're spending your 80-year-old money and your 85-year-old money and your 90-year-old money because you don't know. You don't have a plan. You don't have it written out. You don't have something that's there that you can grab hold of.
Right, for sure. Well, and also retirees typically have different streams of income, and inflation doesn't hit all these streams of income equally. So that's what we want to unpack for you a little bit now. So, Tom, I know first on the list, you know, a lot of people, Social Security income. We got to talk about that and inflation's impact on that consistent stream of income that folks receive.
Well, you know, we get a cost of living adjustment, a COLA, C-O-L-A, cost of living adjustment every year. Sometimes, like in 2015, it was 0. Sometimes, like in 2022, it's 8.7. So it's all over the place. And this year, for 2025, the increase that we're going to get going into next year, and depending on when you're watching the show, is 2.5%.
Which, how does that hold up to current inflation rates?
Well, current inflation rates, you know, a little bit higher than that, you know, and I think sometimes they wait till the very, very lowest number that they can get, and they say, let's stick with that number, because all of the money's coming out of the Treasury. The Social Security account is historically, you know, not bankrupt. It's not going to go bankrupt, but it's not as funded as well as it should be funded, and so they're trying to cut corners every way. Can you imagine what the difference in a 2.5 and a 2.7 cost of living raise is for all the millions of people who get Social Security? So the good news is we are going to get a raise. Studies have been done. You can go back to the year of 2000, and you can find that since the year 2000, Social Security is up 53% since that year. And then the Senior Citizens League also did a study, and they found that inflation rates have gone up 99.3% since that same year.
Same time period, right?
Yeah, same time period. 53% raised to pay for 99.5% gain.
Right.
Big difference.
That is a huge difference, right? And to your point, too, with the cost of living adjustment, we can't always count on that. Yes, some years we receive it with Social Security. There's been a lot of years over the last decade I can think of that didn't even offer that cost of living adjustment to Social Security, so it's not guaranteed.
Well, right, and here's what you do about it. Let's talk about the solution.
Yeah, for sure.
Sometimes people want you should delay your Social as long as you can because it grows at 8% per year. For those of you who are married, you have to consider the two of you together in your Social Security. You may turn on one first. It may be the lower first. It's probably better to let the larger Social Security grow because that's the breadwinner. That's the one that's going to stay when there's only one of you left in the marriage, and so let that one grow. But if you're single, you just got to let yours grow as long as you can. You may look for other sources of income. You may look for a pension. You may say, well, how do I take my pension? When do I take my pension? Do you have a private annuity? You say, I don't like annuities. No, but you love your Social Security and you love your pensions, and those are just two other forms of annuity. You might need to build in an annuity. You need to build in streams of income that you can turn on, or I call them faucets, that you can turn on at different times in the future. There are answers. And if you're working with a professional, they're not just looking at your investments. Even some of the big box firms just call themselves blank investments. You need to be looking at a wealth management firm or a financial planning firm like we are to build a retirement blueprint that helps you through those times and says, what happens? You see, you can't control Social Security and whether they're going to diminish it or not.
Right.
But what you can control is what you're going to do about it if they do diminish it by 20 or 25% in the next few years.
And that's the whole point of today's show, is we want you to have an inflation-proof plan no matter what is going on out in the economy, no matter what's happening with inflation. Maybe they're offering a cost of living adjustment with Social Security one year, maybe the next year they're not. Are you confident that you have a solid plan in place that will still meet your needs regardless of what's going on out in the world? This is why we invite you to pick up the phone and call that number you see on the bottom of your screen to claim your very own complimentary retirement blueprint from Tom and the team of Mosley Wealth Management. Simply call 866-709-1462. Or if you'd rather connect online, if you simply pull out your smartphone, you can open up that camera app, just point, click, and scan that QR code that you see there down in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. That will take you over to a landing page, ask you a few short, simple questions, and then a member of the team from Mosley Wealth Management will reach out to connect with you to schedule your complimentary meeting that way as well. Don't go anywhere. When we come back, we're going to be diving into some more strategies to help you inflation-proof your retirement right after this.
My company now, we're up to 12 people, and we have 6 advisors and 6 support staff. Our main office is right across the street from Anaheim Stadium in Anaheim, right above the Partners Credit Union. We're on the 2nd floor above that. But we have a satellite office now in Glendale, north of downtown LA. Out east, we're in Chino. And then down in San Diego, we have a really quickly growing office down in Scripps Ranch. We're still a little bit like mom and pop. We don't just like our staff and our employees. We love them. We have lunch together. I bring in lunch on Mondays, and we spend about an hour just talking about the weekend and talking about life with all 12 of us that are there. There's some businesses where everybody pulls together and where everybody pulls their own way. It's definite in our company that everybody pulls together. We care about each other. It blesses my heart to see a couple of my new advisors come in on a Monday, and they're talking about the fact that they took their wives out together, the 4 of them, and went out for dinner on a Saturday night. In fact, one noted person told me recently, he said the chances that somebody would start a business and in your area and get to where you guys are at Mosley Wealth Management is about probably 1 in 50,000 because of the success we've had and the focus we've had on working with people to make sure they don't run out of money.
Welcome back, Southern California. You're watching Right on the Money with Tom Mosley. I'm your host, Kristin Oakley, and today Tom and I are sharing with you strategies to help you inflation-proof your retirement. The reality is that inflation doesn't affect all types of retirement income equally, so we're going through the different types that you may have and then sharing some strategies to help make sure you can stay on top of inflation to not let that erode your retirement. So Tom, we've already talked about Social Security in the last segment. I want to talk now about some other fixed income sources that retirees often have. I know you do work with a lot of folks throughout the state of California that have pensions still, so we need to talk about pensions, but also fixed indexed annuities are another tool that people are using to receive guaranteed fixed income for the rest of their lives. So let's talk about how we inflation-proof those 2 streams of income.
Okay. Most pensions do not have a cost of living adjustment. Now, if you've got a state pension or a city pension or a government pension, school pension of some kind, you probably have a small cost of living adjustment. Could be 2% in good years, and they make up a little bit of it in bad years. But you need to know. You need to look at that, and you need to understand your pension. And many times, I actually had a lady in my office last week, and she's an HR person. And I'm explaining to her her own pension.
Wow.
And she doesn't understand it. And she looked at me and she said, you know, for years I've told people what this pension was all about, and I've not been really telling them all of everything that this pension is all about. I didn't understand it until you explained it. Well, that's the difference in working with a professional who's looked at stuff like that time and time again. It's not uncommon for people to sit across the conference room table and they'll say, well, here's my pension and it says this, and they'll talk for 3 or 4 minutes, and they'll talk gibberish a little bit, and they won't know, and they don't understand, and they turn it around and they hand it to me across the table, and within 5 seconds, I'm looking at the thing and I'm understanding what it's saying and what it's meaning.
Well, because you're so used to doing this day in and day out for folks, right?
You know what? I've said before, I'm a great mechanic. As long as I get in my little truck and I push the button and it works.
Right.
After that, you know, it's over my head.
Time to see a professional,
It's time
right?
to see a professional, and sometimes that's what people need, is they need somebody to look at their stuff and give it a professional look.
Right.
Not so that professional, this is really important, I think, not so that professional can tell you what to do, but so that professional can give you your options. And the ramifications of, if I choose this, or if I choose this, this is the direction we're going to need to go, or you're going to need to go, and this is what's going to happen if you choose this. So pensions are that way. Annuities are that way. Some of you have annuities, and you don't understand the annuity that you have. I would say for you out there that if you've got an annuity right now and it hasn't been reviewed, and you've had it at least 2 years, there may be a better model right now in these higher interest rate environments that we're in right now. There may be a far better model out there. So you need to review your annuity. You need to see what's there, to see there's a flow of income with the pension. There's a flow of income with the annuity. You need to understand everything about it so that possibly there's something there that can help you offset the damage that inflation does to you by going up every year.
And one thing I would add to that, Tom, this is a crucial time to be especially looking at those existing annuity contracts while we are still in a higher interest rate environment. We know, of course, the Fed has lowered interest rates a couple of times towards the end of this year, but we don't know what's happening. We know they could go back down, but this is why you want to get in and lock in those higher rates while you still can, right?
Yeah, let's talk about that again. We'll spend a little more time here than we had planned to spend, but I just had a client that came in, and he's 8 years older than his wife. And he says, I'm probably going to die sooner. That's normal, that's statistics. And he said she's going to lose her Social Security because her Social Security is a lower Social Security. So we put an annuity in place, and we guessed, you know, what do you got, 8 years, 10 years, 12 years? He said, well, I hope I've got 15 or more, but let's go 10. So we put an annuity in place that will kick in 10 years with a guaranteed income flow to make up for the loss of her Social Security in case something happened to him. Now, how's that for tinker toy here, tinker toy there, tinker toy there, building that plan together with the tinker toys, just understanding what you need so that she doesn't have a diminishing of her cash flow. Right. There are other annuities. There are annuities out there that if you put a certain amount of money into them, you can turn additional money on, as long as you have the money in the annuity, 10 times. You can start it with a little flow, add some more when inflation hits, add some more, and you can do it up to 10 times during the life of that annuity. All kind of bells and whistles, as well as a much better payout than they used to have. CDs. You used to get almost nothing for CDs. Now, you know, 3.5%, 4.5%. Annuities are the same way. You're loaning your money to the insurance company just like you loan your money to the bank with a CD. You need to check out the new annuities that are out there. They may be very beneficial to you in helping offset inflation.
I'm so glad you took the time to explain that too, because we are in that time-sensitive window to do that. And so if you have an existing annuity contract, you're maybe not even sure what you currently own, or is there something that could put you in a better financial position? This again is a great opportunity and reason why you want to pick up that phone and call the number you see on the bottom of your screen to get that complimentary retirement blueprint. Next up on the list, Tom, is talking about retirement investment portfolios. Now, obviously, a lot of people are counting on their investments that you've maybe saved up in a 401k, a traditional IRA. And it's very natural, I think, the older we get to want to remove some risk off the table and to move to more conservative investments. However, often what that means, though, is you're not keeping up with the pace of inflation. And again, there's so much that goes into this, but because we're focusing on strategies to inflation-proof one's retirement, what's important for folks to understand about this piece of their retirement puzzle?
Well, I think in answer to in response to your statement, Don't take all your money out. So many times people see the volatility of the market that goes along with inflation, and they want to remove all the risk. If you're 65 years of age, unless you just have a massive amount of assets in your portfolio, you can't afford to do that. You still need growth. And I'll answer that pretty much by saying one thing. Look at all three of the major stock indexes right now. Each index is at an all-time high. Or close to an all-time high at the end of a period of 4 years of inflation. Okay? So stock is going to keep up with inflation generally, unless there's an associated recession that goes along with the inflation, which we have not had. They've been saying recession next year, recession next year. You know what? Eventually they're going to be right. A clock is right twice a day, even if it's broken. Okay? Yes. So they keep saying we're going to have a recession. We haven't had one yet, okay? So keep your money invested to your risk level, know your risk level, know your portfolio's risk level, and stay in the market during the time like this. Now, you may want to pull some out to guarantee your income for a year or two. If you don't have annuities and you don't have those kind of things, you don't like annuities, that's fine. There are other ways to do this. There are other ways to accomplish what you want to accomplish. But the whole problem is so many people don't know what they want to do. They don't have a plan as to what they want to do, so they're not doing anything. That is a mistake.
Absolutely. We know that the #1 cause of financial failure for retirees is not having a plan and procrastinating to get that plan in place. So we encourage you, let today be the day. Pick up the phone, call that number you see on the bottom of your screen, and claim your very own complimentary retirement blueprint, 866-709-1462. Or again, if you'd rather connect online, you can simply scan that QR code and that will get you connected as well. We'll be back with more on Right on the Money with Tom Mosley right after this.
Better is just better, but it doesn't begin without a plan. Better, it's the American way, from a better house to a better career to a better life for our kids. Americans strive for better. But when it comes to your retirement, what does better mean to you? A better income? A better lifestyle? A better solution? A better retirement begins with a financial plan. To get your complimentary financial plan, call the number you see here. It's your retirement and an opportunity for better.
Welcome back to Right on the Money with Tom Mosley. I'm Kristin Oakley, here with Tom himself, the founder and president of Mosley Wealth Management, and a great conversation we've been having today all about inflation-proofing your retirement. The reality is that inflation doesn't affect all of our different retirement income sources equally, so we've been moving through this list here. Next up, we have to talk about cash, Tom, and I know that for a lot of retirees, having large sums of money in cash helps them feel safe. But you and I both know that if we just keep a bunch of money in cash, it's not keeping up with inflation. And ironically, what folks can be doing is going broke safely.
One story close to the heart, same first name as mine, my dad, Felton Mosley, passed away 11 years ago. When he passed away, he had $92,000 in $100 bills stuffed in a safety deposit box in a Bank of America in Watauga, Texas. And so many times I've gone to my dad and said, Dad, you can't just leave the money in cash. And he said, son, as long as I have the money in cash, now listen to this, he says, I'm not losing anything. Well, when it comes to inflation, if you have your money in all cash, you are losing purchasing power.
Yep.
Now, I know the stats at 3% inflation. If you have $1 million right now and you dig it up 20 years later, it will only buy $550,000 worth of value. I also know this, if we've had 25% inflation in the past 4 years, if you had enough money in 2000 to last from January 1st until December 31st, and you have that same amount of money coming in right now, you're going to run out of money on October 1st of whatever that next year is, because you've got 25% less buying power. So you are losing when you're in cash. And I'm not the bearer of bad news here. You just are losing. You're losing purchasing power. So please keep your money. Go to the bank. They've got some money markets now that are paying 3.5%, 4.25% still. Probably it will come down as the Federal Reserve lowers their rates, but you can't afford just to have it in a money bag in the backyard or buried in the backyard or in a safety deposit box, even in a bank.
Exactly right. It's just there's too much at stake, and that's the sad thing is I think folks don't realize the opportunity cost that they're missing out on. But
Correct.
That's part of your plan. You obviously have cash built in as part of this retirement blueprint. It just can't be the entire plan.
Not all that much.
Right.
Right.
Exactly. The right balance for sure.
Correct.
Well, it wouldn't be a complete show if we didn't also talk about taxes. And you know, taxes and inflation together are a huge detriment, a huge threat, if you will, to folks' retirement. So what do you want to say on this critical piece as we talk about inflation-proofing one's retirement?
Well, you've got to really know how much tax you're going to have to pay on what you've got. If you've got an IRA or a 401k, and that thing, the nice thing is when the market goes up, you're going to go up. You're going to gain, but you're also forever taxed on everything that's in an IRA or a 401k. If you do Roth conversions, which many of the big box firms will not even consider doing for you because they have to work with you to let you know how much to pay and how much tax you're going to have extra that year at a lower rate potentially than when tax rates eventually go up. So Roth conversions are something you really need to look at, but some of the big box firms don't even want to look at it. Taxes can kill you. They can rob you of your dream. And with inflation, taxes only get worse and worse and worse. And if it's not a bigger punch because of inflation, it's a double punch because of inflation, because you get hit by inflation and you also get hit by taxes. So it can kill you. How do you solve that? You can go to a website we put together called 𝗬𝗲𝗁𝗲𝗏.com. 𝗬𝗲𝗁𝗲𝗏.com. And you can punch in your numbers and you can get a report. 𝗬𝗲𝗁𝗲𝗏.com.
Yeah, ease your tax bill. I'm just making sure. Right?
There it is. 𝗬𝗲𝗁𝗲𝗏.com.
Yep.
You've got it. Go to that site. That site can help you. You can put your own numbers in and you can know what kind of tax bill you're going to have.
Wonderful. Tom, this time always goes by so quickly. I know there's a lot more we could talk about for strategies, but really for you at the end of the day, don't you want to have a personal strategy in place? The best way to do that is to be able to come in and sit down for no cost, no charge, no obligation, and have your very own complimentary retirement plan built for you. That number to call is 866-709-1462. Of course, you can also visit easemytaxbill.com to get started. Thank you so much for being here, and we look forward to being back with you next time here on Right on the Money with Tom Mosley.